Maya Chen pushed her cleaning cart down the long metal hallway of Kepler Station. The wheels squeaked softly against the polished floor. She moved like a ghost, barely making any sound except for that small squeak. Other workers passed by her without a second glance. To them, she was just another maintenance worker. Nothing special, nothing dangerous. The station buzzed with activity. Kepler Station sat at the edge of human space, serving as a trading post between Earth colonies and alien civilizations. Thousands of beings lived and worked here. Humans, Zephyrians with their blue skin and 4 arms, massive Chronari who looked like walking boulders, and dozens of other species. Maya looked small next to all of them. She stood barely 5 feet tall, with short black hair and dark eyes that seemed to notice everything but say nothing. She wore the gray uniform of station maintenance staff, a simple jumpsuit with patches and tool belts. Nothing that would make anyone look twice. She stopped at a waste disposal unit and began emptying trash bins. A group of Zephyrian traders walked past, speaking loudly in their native tongue. They laughed and pointed at various humans working nearby. Maya understood every word they said, but her face showed no reaction. She just continued her work. "Look at these pathetic humans," one Zephyrian said to his friends. "So weak and slow. That little one there probably couldn't hurt a spacefly." His friends laughed. They had no idea Maya spoke their language. Most humans on the station didn't bother learning alien tongues. They assumed translation devices were enough. Maya had learned 14 different alien languages during her 2 years on Kepler Station. Not because she needed to for work. She learned them because information was power, and power kept you alive. Maya finished emptying the bins and moved on. She entered the commercial district where shops and restaurants lined both sides of the corridor. The air smelled of exotic spices and recycled atmosphere. Holographic signs flickered in dozens of languages, advertising everything from weapon modifications to rare minerals. At Kortak's arms shop, she paused to clean the front window. Through the glass, she watched the shop owner, a massive Chronari named Kortak, showing off weapons to potential buyers. Energy rifles, plasma pistols, vibroblades, and things Maya didn't recognize. Kortak's thick, stone-like skin made him look like a walking mountain. His 4 eyes constantly scanned his shop, watching for thieves. "Human girl!" Kortak's voice boomed through his shop's open door. "Clean faster! You block my customer's view!" Maya nodded without speaking and continued cleaning. She had learned that staying silent was often the best response. People filled silence with their own assumptions. They assumed she was slow, simple, or afraid. All of those assumptions worked in her favor. A customer inside the shop, a Zephyrian mercenary, laughed at Kortak's words. "Why do you employ such weak creatures? Humans are only good for simple tasks. They break too easily for real work." Kortak shrugged his massive shoulders. "They work cheap, and they stay out of trouble. Not like some species I could mention." Maya continued cleaning, but her enhanced hearing picked up every word. She also noticed the mercenaries' weapon choices: high-end plasma rifle with extended battery pack, military-grade targeting scope, armor-piercing rounds. This wasn't equipment for hunting or sport. This was gear for killing dangerous targets. She moved away from the shop and continued down the corridor. Her route took her past the security office where Station Chief Morgan briefed his team. Through the open door, she could see human and alien security officers gathered around a holographic display. "Pirates have been hitting stations along the outer rim," Chief Morgan said. His voice carried the weight of years in law enforcement. 3 stations attacked in the past month. The Crimson Nebula Gang. They hit fast and hard. Take everything valuable and disappear before military help arrives." One of the alien officers, a tall Etherian with translucent skin, raised a graceful hand. "What makes you think they'll target Kepler Station?" "We're the richest trading post in this sector," Morgan replied. "We're also the most isolated. Perfect target for pirates who want to get rich quick." Maya made mental notes as she worked nearby. Crimson Nebula Gang. Known for brutal tactics. Leader called himself Captain Vex, a former military officer from the hegemony who went rogue. Approximately 40 members, all experienced fighters. They used modified ships that could appear on scanners as merchant vessels until it was too late. She had read the classified reports about their attacks. The pirates didn't just steal cargo, they took prisoners to sell as slaves. They killed anyone who fought back, and they seemed to enjoy the violence more than the profit. Maya finished cleaning near the security office and moved toward the residential areas. Here, the corridors were quieter, lined with doors leading to small apartments where station workers lived. Her own quarters were in Section C, Level 7. A tiny space with a bed, desk, and small bathroom. Most people would find it cramped and depressing. Maya found it perfect. Small spaces were easier to defend. As she walked, she passed other maintenance workers heading home after their shifts. They nodded to her, and she nodded back. A few tried to start conversations over the months, but Maya's one-word answers and long silences eventually discouraged them. They thought she was shy or maybe had language problems. They were wrong on both counts. In the recreation area, groups of workers gathered around tables, playing cards or sharing meals. Humans sat mostly with other humans. Aliens formed their own groups based on species. Maya had noticed this pattern during her time on the station. Cooperation in work, segregation in leisure. It made the station predictable. Predictability was useful. She paused to empty trash bins near a table of human engineers. They were discussing the station's defensive systems. "Our shields can handle most attacks," one engineer said. "But if someone got inside the station, we'd have problems. Security is stretched thin, covering all the sectors." "What about the automated defense systems?" asked another. "They're good against external threats. But inside the station? We'd be relying on security teams and whatever weapons the civilians have." Maya continued working, but she absorbed every detail. Shield generators on levels 2 and 8, main power core on level 5, heavily protected but accessible through maintenance tunnels. Security checkpoints at major intersections, but service areas were lightly guarded. The engineers were right. If attackers got inside Kepler Station, they would have significant advantages. She finished her shift and returned her cleaning cart to the maintenance bay. The bay was empty except for Supervisor Torres, a tired-looking man who barely glanced up from his paperwork when Maya checked in. "Quiet shift today?" Torres asked without looking up. Maya nodded. She had learned that Torres asked this same question every day, and he didn't really want detailed answers. He wanted confirmation that nothing had gone wrong during her shift. "Good," Torres said. "Same route tomorrow. Try to finish Section D by noon. Corporate wants the commercial areas cleaned twice daily now." Maya nodded again and left. She walked through the corridors toward her quarters, but took a longer route that led past the docking bays. Through reinforced windows, she could see various ships connected to the station. Merchant vessels, passenger transports, and a few private ships. Most looked normal, but Maya's trained eye spotted details others would miss. One ship, registered as a mineral transport, had modifications that didn't match its supposed cargo. Extra armor plating, weapon mounts disguised as sensor arrays, engines more powerful than needed for hauling ore. The ship's crew looked wrong too. They moved like soldiers, not miners. They wore civilian clothes, but their posture and alertness screamed military training. Maya memorized the ship's registration number and continued walking. In her quarters, she sat at her small desk and opened what appeared to be a personal tablet. To anyone watching, it looked like she was reading entertainment news or checking messages from family. In reality, she was accessing databases through encrypted channels. The suspicious ship belonged to a shell company with ties to known pirate organizations. Its recent travel history showed stops at stations that were later attacked. The crew members had false identities, but facial recognition software matched them to wanted criminals from military databases. Maya leaned back in her chair and stared at her ceiling. The pieces were falling into place. The Crimson Nebula gang wasn't just planning to attack Kepler Station. They were already here. Some of their advance team had docked as fake merchants to scout the station's defenses and plan their assault. She could report this information to station security. Chief Morgan seemed competent, and his team might be able to handle the threat. But Maya had seen pirate attacks before. Even with warning, station security would be outgunned and outmaneuvered by experienced pirates. Too many civilians would die. Maya looked at her hands. Small hands that people assumed were only good for holding cleaning tools. They had no idea what these hands had done before she came to Kepler Station, what they were trained to do, what they were capable of doing. For 2 years, she had successfully hidden in plain sight. She had become invisible by being exactly what people expected to see. A quiet maintenance worker who caused no trouble and drew no attention. It had been peaceful, safe, normal. But normal was about to end. Maya opened a hidden compartment in her desk and pulled out a small device. It looked like a standard communication pad, but it was actually a military-grade scanner capable of penetrating most security systems. She had other tools hidden throughout her quarters, tools that most people would never associate with a maintenance worker. She began planning. The pirates would probably attack during the night shift when fewer security officers were on duty. They would target the main power core to disable the station's defenses. They would also hit the communication array to prevent distress signals. After that, they would systematically loot the station while taking prisoners. Maya had faced pirates before. Different gang, different station, different life. But pirates were predictable. They relied on fear and overwhelming force. They expected their victims to panic and surrender quickly. They weren't prepared for someone who could think like them, someone who could be more ruthless than they were. She looked at her reflection in the tablet's dark screen. The face that looked back at her seemed young and innocent, exactly the kind of person who would run and hide when danger came. The pirates would see her as an easy victim. Just another scared civilian to be ignored until it was time to round up prisoners. They were going to learn they had made a terrible mistake. Maya spent the next few hours reviewing station blueprints and security protocols. She identified weak points in the pirates' likely attack plan. She located weapons and equipment she could acquire when the time came. She planned escape routes and hiding places. Most importantly, she planned how to eliminate the threat while keeping her true identity secret. By morning, she would return to being the quiet maintenance girl everyone underestimated. But when the pirates came, they would discover that the most dangerous person on Kepler Station had been hiding in plain sight all along. Maya turned off her tablet and prepared for bed. Tomorrow would be her last normal day on the station. After that, the silent girl everyone ignored would become their salvation, whether they ever knew it or not. The attack came 3 days later, exactly when Maya expected it would. She was cleaning the corridors near the docking bay when the lights flickered. Most people didn't notice, but Maya knew what it meant. Someone had just used an electromagnetic pulse device to disable the station's external sensors. The pirates had arrived. Maya continued pushing her cleaning cart as if nothing had happened. Around her, other workers went about their normal routines. The Zephyrian traders were still haggling over prices. Human engineers were still discussing technical problems. Nobody realized their lives were about to change forever. The communication system crackled to life. "All station personnel, this is Chief Morgan. We have multiple unidentified vessels approaching. This is not a drill. All civilians report to designated safe areas immediately." That's when the panic started. People began running in all directions. Some headed toward the residential areas where they thought they would be safe. Others pushed toward the emergency shelters built into the station's core. A few tried to reach their personal ships in the docking bays. Maya had seen this kind of chaos before. Panic made people predictable. It also made them easy to control. Maya abandoned her cleaning cart and moved against the flow of fleeing people. While everyone else ran away from the docking bays, she moved toward them. She needed to see exactly what they were dealing with. Through the observation windows, she watched as sleek black ships surrounded the station. They looked like military vessels, but Maya spotted the modifications that marked them as pirate craft. Extra weapons, reinforced hulls, jamming equipment. The Crimson Nebula gang had spent their stolen money on serious firepower. The largest ship moved into position directly in front of the main docking bay. Its design was unmistakably military. Maya recognized it as a modified assault cruiser, the kind used by hegemony special forces. Someone with serious military connections had provided these pirates with top-tier equipment. Station security officers ran past her, heading toward defensive positions. Maya counted them as they passed. 12 humans, 8 aliens, all carrying standard security weapons. They were brave, but they were about to face 40 experienced pirates with military-grade equipment. The outcome was predictable. The station shuddered as magnetic clamps locked onto the hull. Maya heard the distinctive whine of cutting torches beginning to breach the outer doors. The pirates weren't bothering with standard docking procedures. They were cutting their way in. Maya slipped into a maintenance tunnel that ran parallel to the main corridor. From here, she could move through the station without being seen. She crawled through the narrow space, her small size allowing her to navigate easily through areas larger people couldn't access. She emerged near the main security office, where Chief Morgan was coordinating the defense. Through a ventilation grate, she could see and hear everything happening inside. Teams Alpha and Beta, hold positions at checkpoints 7 and 9, Morgan spoke into his communicator. Gamma Team, fall back to the civilian shelters. We need to protect the non-combatants. One of his officers, a young human woman, looked nervous. Chief, our scanners are showing at least 40 hostiles. They have military weapons. Should we call for help from the fleet? Already tried, Morgan replied grimly. Communications are being jammed. We're on our own until the jamming stops. Maya knew the jamming wouldn't stop until the pirates were finished. She had seen their equipment. They had brought enough jamming gear to keep the station isolated for days if necessary. The first explosion echoed through the station. The pirates had breached the outer hull. Within minutes, they would be inside. Maya needed to move. She crawled deeper into the maintenance tunnels, heading toward her real destination. Most people didn't know that Kepler Station had been built on the frame of an old military research facility. The original builders had included hidden weapon caches throughout the structure, meant to supply defenders in case of attack. The civilian authorities had sealed most of these caches when they converted the facility to a trading post. But Maya had found them during her 2 years of work. She reached cache point 7, hidden behind a false panel in the station's lower levels. Her security access card, modified with codes she had acquired through careful observation, opened the sealed compartment. Inside were weapons that made security's equipment look like toys. Maya selected what she needed. A pulse rifle with armor-piercing rounds, a plasma pistol that could punch through reinforced metal, tactical armor that would stop most small arms fire, sensor goggles that would let her see in complete darkness, and other tools that would help her become something very different from a maintenance worker. The weapon felt familiar in her hands. Muscle memory kicked in as she checked the power cell, tested the targeting system, and adjusted the rifle's settings. It had been 2 years since she had held a military weapon, but her body remembered exactly what to do. Footsteps echoed in the corridor above her, heavy boots moving in formation. The pirates had made it inside the station. Maya activated her sensor goggles and peered through a ventilation grate. 6 pirates moved down the main corridor, weapons ready. They wore black combat armor with red markings. the Crimson Nebula's signature colors. Their leader was a Chronari, his stone-like skin scarred from old battles. The others were a mix of humans and Zephyrians, all moving with military precision. One of the human pirates spoke into his communicator. "Sector 3 secured. No resistance encountered. Moving toward the commercial district." "Copy that, Strike Team 2, came the reply. "Remember, we want prisoners alive. Dead civilians don't bring ransom money." Maya had heard enough. She moved through the maintenance tunnels, paralleling the pirates' route. Her modified tablet showed her their positions as they spread through the station. 40 pirates, just as intelligence had suggested. They were dividing into teams of 6, each targeting different sections of the station. She reached another access point and observed Strike Team 1 attacking a security checkpoint. Chief Morgan's people were putting up a fight, but they were outgunned. Energy blasts lit up the corridor as both sides exchanged fire. The security officers were brave, but they were taking casualties. Maya made her decision. She opened the ventilation grate silently and dropped into the corridor behind the pirates. Her tactical armor made no sound as she landed. The pirates were focused on the security position ahead of them. They had no idea death had just entered their formation. Maya's first shot took the rear guard, a human pirate, in the back of the head. Her rifle was set to silent mode, so the energy blast made almost no sound. The pirate dropped without a word. The second pirate turned when he noticed his partner had fallen. Maya's plasma pistol burned a hole through his chest before he could shout a warning. The third pirate, a Zephyrian with 4 arms, finally realized they were under attack. He spun around, all 4 hands reaching for weapons. Maya's rifle put 3 rounds into his torso center mass. The pirate's blue blood splattered against the wall as he collapsed. By now, the remaining pirates knew something was wrong. Their team leader, a scarred human with cybernetic implants, shouted into his communicator, "Strike Team 1 under attack. We have hostiles in the rear." Maya was already moving. She rolled behind a support pillar as the remaining pirates opened fire. Energy blasts scorched the metal where she had been standing, but Maya wasn't there anymore. She had learned long ago that in close quarters combat, mobility was life. While the pirates focused on the pillar, she moved through shadows along the corridor wall. Her tactical armor's camouflage system made her nearly invisible in the dim lighting. The 4th pirate died when Maya's knife found the gap between his helmet and body armor. The blade, coated with a neural toxin, killed him instantly. His body fell silently to the ground. The team leader was getting desperate. "Where are they? I can't see them." "Behind you," Maya said quietly. The pirate spun around, weapon raised. But Maya was faster. Her pistol fired twice, and the team leader joined his dead companions on the floor. The last pirate, young and clearly inexperienced, dropped his weapon and raised his hands. "Please don't kill me. I surrender." Maya stepped out of the shadows, her armor's camouflage deactivating. The young pirate stared at her in shock. He had been expecting station security or maybe military reinforcements. He wasn't prepared to see a small human woman in maintenance worker clothes standing over 6 dead pirates. "You made a mistake coming here," Maya said. Her voice was calm, almost conversational. "Who are you?" the pirate whispered. Maya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm the cleaning lady." She knocked him unconscious with the butt of her rifle. Alive prisoners could provide intelligence, but dead ones couldn't warn their friends. Maya quickly searched the bodies, taking their weapons and communication devices. The pirates' radio chatter told her everything she needed to know about their operation. Strike teams. 2 through 7 were moving through other parts of the station. They had orders to secure key areas like the power core and command center. They also had a list of high-value prisoners to capture, including several wealthy traders and the station's senior officers. More importantly, she learned that Captain Vex himself was leading Strike Team Alpha, the group targeting the station's command center. If she could eliminate him, the other pirates might lose their coordination and become easier to defeat. Maya moved through the maintenance tunnels toward the command center. Along the way, she monitored the pirates' communications and watched their positions on her tactical display. They were professional, but they were also predictable. They followed standard military assault procedures, which meant Maya could anticipate their moves. She reached the command center just as Strike Team Alpha began their attack. Through ventilation grates, she could see Captain Vex directing his team's assault on the security barricade. Vex was everything the intelligence reports had said he would be. Tall, muscular, with the bearing of a career military officer. His armor was better than his subordinates, and his weapons were top-tier military hardware. The security officers defending the command center were down to 3 people, including Chief Morgan. They were running low on ammunition and had no chance of holding their position much longer. Maya needed a better angle for her attack. She climbed higher into the maintenance tunnels, reaching a position directly above the pirates. From here, she could see all 6 members of Strike Team Alpha. But as she prepared to attack, something went wrong. One of the pirates, a Zephyrian with enhanced hearing, detected her movement in the tunnels above. "Contact overhead!" the alien shouted. "Someone's in the maintenance shafts!" The pirates immediately took cover and aimed their weapons upward. Maya's element of surprise was gone. Captain Vex's voice boomed through the corridor. "Whoever you are up there, you're outnumbered and outgunned. Come down now and we won't kill you." Maya smiled to herself. Vex thought he was dealing with a trapped security officer, or maybe a brave civilian. He had no idea he was talking to someone who had faced worse odds than this and survived. She activated her communicator and patched into the pirate's frequency. When she spoke, her voice reached every pirate on the station. "This is a message for all members of the Crimson Nebula Gang," she said calmly. "You have 60 seconds to return to your ships and leave this station. After that, I will hunt you down and kill every single one of you." Silence filled the communication channel for a moment. Then Captain Vex began laughing. "Did you hear that, boys? Some little hero thinks they can scare us away." Other pirates joined in the laughter. Maya could hear their amusement echoing through the station's corridors. "Let me tell you something, hero," Vex continued. "We are the Crimson Nebula. We've destroyed entire fleets. We've conquered fortified worlds. You think one person can stop us?" "I think," Maya replied quietly, "that you're about to find out exactly who you're dealing with." She dropped a small device through the ventilation grate. It clattered to the floor in the middle of the pirates' formation. They all stared at it, wondering what it was. "Grenade!" one of them shouted. But it wasn't a grenade. It was a flashbang device that Maya had modified with components from the weapons cache. The explosion filled the corridor with blinding light and deafening noise. The pirates stumbled around, temporarily blind and disoriented. Maya dropped through the ventilation grate like a ghost. She landed in the middle of the confused pirates and went to work. Her rifle fired in controlled bursts. 2 pirates died before they even realized she was among them. A third tried to grab her, but Maya's combat knife opened his throat before he could complete the motion. Captain Vex recovered faster than his subordinates. He spun toward Maya, his assault rifle tracking her movement. But Maya was already moving, using a dead pirate's body as cover while she engaged the remaining threats. The last 2 pirates died within seconds of each other. One fell to Maya's rifle, the other to her plasma pistol. In less than 30 seconds, Strike Team Alpha had been reduced to just their leader. Captain Vex stared at the small woman who had just eliminated 5 experienced pirates with almost casual efficiency. His military training told him he was facing someone with extensive combat experience. His survival instincts told him he was in serious trouble. "Who are you?" he demanded, keeping his rifle aimed at Maya. Maya stepped over the bodies of his subordinates, her own weapons trained on him. "I used to be someone else. Now I'm just the maintenance worker everyone underestimates." No maintenance worker fights like that, Vex said. You're military. Special forces, maybe. Or intelligence. Does it matter? Maya asked. Your operation is over. Half your people are dead. The others will be soon. As if to emphasize her point, explosions echoed from other parts of the station. Maya had programmed the weapons cache she had accessed to overload their power cells. The resulting explosions would take out any pirates who tried to use those locations as strongholds. Vex's communicator crackled with panicked voices. His remaining strike teams were reporting heavy casualties and requesting backup. But there was no backup coming. Maya had systematically eliminated their support structure. You can't be everywhere at once, Vex said desperately. My people will regroup. They'll find you. Maya's smile was cold and predatory. Let them try. Behind her, Chief Morgan and his surviving officers emerged from their defensive position. They stared in amazement at the small maintenance worker who had just saved their lives. Morgan knew combat when he saw it, and what Maya had done was far beyond anything a normal civilian should be capable of. Maya? Morgan said uncertainly. What? How did you... Maya kept her weapons aimed at Captain Vex, but she answered without looking away from her target. I'll explain later, Chief. Right now, we have a station to secure. Captain Vex was still trying to understand what had happened to his perfect operation. This is impossible. We had intelligence. We planned for every contingency. How could one person destroy everything? You made two mistakes, Maya said. First, you assumed everyone on this station was helpless. Second, you thought the quiet girl in the corner wasn't paying attention. She moved closer to Vex, her rifle never wavering. But I've been watching you since the day your advance team arrived. I know your ship positions, your escape routes, your backup plans. I know everything about your operation because you never thought to notice me. Vex's face went pale as understanding dawned. You knew we were coming. I've known for days, Maya confirmed. I could have warned security, but that would have meant a pitched battle with lots of civilian casualties. It was cleaner to let you start your attack and then eliminate you systematically. The pirate captain was a veteran of dozens of battles. He had faced military special forces, corporate security teams, and planetary defense forces. But he had never encountered anything like the small woman standing before him. She radiated a cold professionalism that made his combat instincts scream warnings. What do you want? He asked. I want you to order your remaining people to surrender, Maya said. Do that, and I might let some of them live. Vex hesitated. Surrender would mean prison, but continuing to fight would mean death. Maya had proven she could eliminate trained fighters with terrifying efficiency. How many more of his people would die before this was over? His decision was made for him when another explosion rocked the station. Maya had triggered another trap, and more of his subordinates were dead. Maya's communicator crackled with the voice of a panicking pirate. Captain, Strike Team 4 is gone. Something killed them all. We can't find Strike Team 6 either. What are your orders? Maya looked at Captain Vex expectantly. The choice was his. He could order his people to keep fighting and watch them die one by one, or he could surrender and hope for mercy from someone who clearly had none to spare. All teams, Vex said into his communicator, his voice heavy with defeat. Stand down. Return to the ships. We're leaving. But Captain... One of his subordinates protested. That's an order, Vex snapped. Get to the ships now. Maya nodded approvingly. Smart choice, but Captain? She stepped closer to him, her rifle inches from his chest. If you ever come back to this sector, I'll be waiting for you, and next time I won't be so merciful. Captain Vex stared into her dark eyes and saw something that made his blood run cold. This wasn't just a threat. It was a promise from someone who had the skills and determination to carry it out. As the remaining pirates retreated to their ships, Maya finally lowered her weapons. The immediate threat was over, but she knew her peaceful life on Kepler Station was finished. Too many people had seen what she could do. There would be questions she couldn't answer without revealing secrets that needed to stay buried. Chief Morgan approached her cautiously. "Maya, I think we need to talk." Maya looked at him and nodded. The time for hiding was over. The silent girl everyone had underestimated was about to become very famous indeed. Maya sat in Chief Morgan's office, still wearing her maintenance worker uniform over tactical armor. The contrast was almost comical. Gray coveralls and work boots paired with military-grade equipment that could have equipped an entire security team. But nobody was laughing. Morgan paced behind his desk, trying to process what had just happened. His station had been attacked by one of the most dangerous pirate gangs in the Outer Rim, 40 experienced fighters with military-grade weapons. By all rights, Kepler Station should have been gutted, its people dead or enslaved. Instead, 37 pirates were dead. The remaining 3 had fled with their tails between their legs, carrying Captain Vex's unconscious body to their ships. The pirate fleet had jumped to hyperspace within minutes of receiving the surrender order, leaving behind only wreckage and questions. 37, Morgan said for the 4th time. One person killed 37 pirates. 36, Maya corrected quietly. I knocked out their captain. He doesn't count as dead. Right. 36. Morgan stopped pacing and stared at her. Maya, I need you to explain to me how a maintenance worker single-handedly destroyed the Crimson Nebula gang. Maya looked at her hands folded in her lap. Small hands that had just demonstrated they could wield death with surgical precision. What do you want to know? Everything, Morgan said. Start with who you really are. Maya was quiet for a long moment. She had hoped this conversation would never come. For 2 years, she had successfully hidden her past. But secrets had a way of surfacing when violence was involved. My name is Maya Chen, she began. That part was never a lie. I grew up on New Shanghai Colony. When I was 16, the hegemony invaded our system. Morgan knew about New Shanghai. The colony had been one of the first targets when the alien hegemony began their expansion into human space. The invasion had been brutal and swift. The hegemony didn't just want our territory, Maya continued. They wanted to make an example. They bombarded our cities from orbit, then sent ground troops to finish off anyone who survived. My family. She paused, her voice catching slightly. They didn't make it to the evacuation shuttles. I'm sorry, Morgan said softly. Maya nodded but didn't look up. I was trapped in the ruins of our apartment complex for 3 days. When the rescue teams finally found me, I was the only survivor in a building that had housed 300 families. The trauma counselors said I should be grateful to be alive. They said I should focus on healing and moving on with my life. But you didn't, Morgan guessed. No, Maya said, her voice hardening. I focused on something else. Revenge. She stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the station's commercial district. Normal activity was resuming as people realized the danger was over. Children played in the recreation areas while their parents tried to pretend the day had been routine, life finding its way back to normal, the way it always did. The Earth military was recruiting volunteers for special operations against the hegemony, Maya continued. They needed people who could pass for civilians, who could get close to hegemony targets without being suspected. I was perfect for the job, young, small, innocent-looking. Nobody would suspect a 17-year-old girl of being a trained killer. Morgan felt a chill run down his spine. The Earth military's special operations during the hegemony war were classified. But rumors had circulated for years. Stories about ghost operatives who could infiltrate enemy positions and eliminate high-value targets. Assassins who could disappear into crowds and strike without warning. They trained me for 2 years, Maya said. Combat, infiltration, weapons, explosives, poisons, psychological warfare, everything I would need to hunt hegemony commanders. I was good at it. Very good. How good? Morgan asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. In 4 years of active service, I eliminated 143 high-value targets, Maya replied matter-of-factly. Generals, admirals, intelligence officers, political leaders. Anyone who contributed to the hegemony's war effort was fair game. The number hung in the air like a physical weight. 143 kills. Morgan had been in law enforcement for 20 years, and he had never killed anyone. This small woman sitting in his office had ended more lives than most entire military units. The war ended, Maya continued, but I couldn't stop. The hegemony had surrendered, but there were still war criminals hiding throughout the galaxy. Pirates and mercenaries who had worked with the occupying forces, slavers who had profited from human suffering. I kept hunting them. Until, Morgan prompted. Maya turned away from the window and faced him. For the first time since he had known her, her expression showed real emotion. Pain, regret, and something that might have been shame. Until I realized I had become the thing I was fighting against, she said quietly. I was tracking a war criminal on Vega Station, a hegemony colonel who had overseen the massacre of an entire human settlement. But when I found him, he wasn't hiding. He was running an orphanage for war refugees, children of all species, human and alien alike. He had dedicated his life to helping the victims of the war he had once helped wage. Maya sat back down, her shoulders sagging slightly. I had my knife at his throat when one of the children walked in. A little human girl, maybe 6 years old. She saw me holding a weapon to the man she thought of as her grandfather, and she asked me why I wanted to hurt him. What did you do? Morgan asked. I couldn't answer her, Maya said. I stood there with my knife ready to kill, and I couldn't explain to a 6-year-old why this man deserved to die, because the truth was, he didn't. Not anymore. He had changed. He had found redemption through helping others. But I hadn't changed. I was still the same weapon the military had created to fight a war that was already over. Maya looked at her hands again. I put the knife away and walked out of that orphanage. The next day I submitted my resignation to military intelligence. They tried to convince me to stay, but I was done. I had killed enough people for one lifetime. So you came to Kepler Station, Morgan said. After 2 years of moving from place to place, Maya confirmed. I wanted to disappear, to become someone ordinary, someone harmless. I thought if I could just be invisible long enough, I might forget what I used to be. Morgan leaned back in his chair, trying to process everything he had heard. But you kept the skills. You can't unlearn 20 years of training, Maya said. I tried to ignore it, but old habits die hard. I noticed patterns. I analyzed threats. I prepared for contingencies. When I realized the pirates were planning to attack, I told myself I would just report it to you and let security handle it. But you didn't trust us to handle it, Morgan said. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact. I've seen too many good people die because they weren't prepared for the level of violence they were facing, Maya replied. The Crimson Nebula gang wasn't a group of amateur raiders. They were experienced killers with military equipment. Your security team would have fought bravely, but they would have lost. And then the pirates would have had free rein to do whatever they wanted with the civilian population. Morgan nodded slowly. He had seen the tactical analysis of the pirate attack. His security team had been outgunned and outnumbered. Even with advance warning, the outcome would likely have been the same. Lots of dead security officers and thousands of civilian casualties. So you decided to handle it yourself, he said. I told myself it would be a one-time thing, Maya said. I would eliminate the threat quietly and go back to being invisible, but... She gestured to her tactical armor and weapons. Things didn't exactly go according to plan. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting access to the office. Morgan activated his desk communicator. What is it? Chief, you have visitors, his secretary said. Earth Military Intelligence. They're asking to speak with you about the pirate incident. Maya's expression didn't change, but Morgan noticed her hand move instinctively toward her sidearm. Old reflexes were hard to break. "Send them in," Morgan said. The door opened to admit two people in military uniforms, a man and a woman, both carrying themselves with the bearing of career officers. Their uniforms bore the insignia of Earth Military Intelligence, and their faces showed the kind of professional composure that came from dealing with classified information. The woman, a colonel with graying hair and sharp eyes, looked directly at Maya. "Agent Nightingale. It's been a long time." Maya stood up slowly, her posture changing subtly. The maintenance worker was gone, replaced by someone who radiated controlled danger. "Colonel Harrison, I thought I made it clear that I was retired." "You did," Harrison replied. "But retirement has a way of becoming temporary when the galaxy needs your particular skills." The male officer, a major with cybernetic implants that marked him as a combat veteran, stepped forward. "The intelligence community has been tracking the Crimson Nebula gang for months. They were responsible for 17 station attacks, hundreds of civilian deaths, and the enslavement of over 2,000 people. Earth Command has been trying to locate their base of operations for almost a year. And now they're scattered to the four winds because Agent Nightingale decided to go freelance," Harrison said, her tone carrying mild reproach. Maya's eyes narrowed. "Those people were going to die, all of them. I did what was necessary to protect them." "We know," Harrison said, her expression softening slightly. "And we're grateful. But Maya, the galaxy has gotten more dangerous since you retired. The hegemony war may be over, but new threats are emerging. Pirate gangs with military equipment, slave traders operating with government protection, weapons smugglers selling planet killers to the highest bidder." "Not my problem anymore," Maya said firmly. The major activated a holographic projector and displayed a series of images: ships, weapons, faces of wanted criminals. The Crimson Nebula gang was just one tentacle of a larger organization. Someone has been supplying pirates and slavers with military-grade equipment. Someone with access to classified weapons technology and detailed intelligence on civilian targets. One of the images showed a familiar face. Captain Vex, but in a different uniform. Earth military, with the rank insignia of a colonel. "Captain Vex used to be Colonel Vincent Vex of the 23rd Assault Division," Harrison explained. "He was cashiered out of the service 3 years ago for war crimes during the occupation of Kepler-7, but somehow he's been getting access to current military intelligence and restricted weapons technology." Maya studied the images carefully. "You think there's a traitor in the military command structure?" "We know there is," Harrison said, "but we don't know who. They're too well hidden, too careful. We need someone who can operate outside normal channels. Someone who can get close to targets that regular intelligence officers can't touch. Someone expendable," Maya said coldly. "Someone uniquely qualified," Harrison corrected. "Maya, in 4 years of active service, you never failed a mission. You never left a witness. You never left evidence that could be traced back to Earth military. You were the best operative we ever trained." Maya walked back to the window and stared out at the station's bustling activity. Families were gathering for evening meals. Children were playing games in the corridors. Merchants were closing their shops after another profitable day. Normal people living normal lives, blissfully unaware of how close they had come to losing everything. "What makes you think I'm still capable of doing that kind of work?" Maya asked without turning around. The major smiled grimly. 36 dead pirates in under 2 hours. I'd say your skills are still sharp." Maya was quiet for a long time. Morgan watched her struggle with the decision, understanding that she was being asked to give up the peaceful life she had built for herself, to once again become the weapon she had tried so hard to leave behind. "If I do this," Maya said finally, "I work alone. No handlers, no oversight, no interference. You give me targets and intelligence, and I eliminate them however I see fit." "Agreed," Harrison said immediately. "And when it's over, I disappear again. No victory parades, no medals, no official recognition. I go back to being nobody. Also agreed. Maya turned to face them. And Kepler Station is off limits. Whatever happens out there, this place stays clean. The people here have been through enough. Harrison nodded. We can arrange for enhanced security for the station, regular patrol schedules, upgraded defensive systems. Your friends here will be safe. Maya looked at Morgan, who had been listening to the conversation with growing amazement. Chief, I'm sorry you got dragged into this. I never wanted anyone here to know what I used to be. Maya, Morgan said seriously, you saved this station. You saved every person on it. I don't care what you used to be or what you're going to do. You'll always have a place here if you need it. She smiled at him, and for a moment she looked like the quiet maintenance worker he had known for 2 years. Thank you. That means more to me than you know. Harrison activated her communicator. Colonel Harrison to transport ship Phantom. 2 passengers ready for pickup. 3 passengers, Maya corrected. Harrison looked confused. 3? Maya picked up a data pad from Morgan's desk and began typing rapidly. I'm bringing Captain Vex with us. He's unconscious in your detention center, but he has information about the weapon suppliers. Information we're going to need if we want to stop this conspiracy. The Major looked impressed. You're planning to interrogate him? I'm planning to convince him that cooperation is in his best interest, Maya said with a cold smile. Trust me, I can be very persuasive when I need to be. As they prepared to leave, Maya paused at the door. She looked back at Chief Morgan one last time. Chief, when people ask what happened here today, tell them the truth. Tell them that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone overlooks. Tell them that the quiet girl in the corner might be the only thing standing between them and the monsters in the dark. Morgan nodded. I'll make sure they remember. Maya disappeared into the corridor with the 2 intelligence officers, leaving Morgan alone in his office. He sat down at his desk and began composing his official report of the incident. But he knew that no report could capture the full truth of what had happened. The silent girl everyone had underestimated had saved them all. And now she was disappearing back into the shadows to fight battles that most people would never even know were happening. Somewhere in the galaxy, there were people who thought humans were weak, soft, easy targets for exploitation and abuse. They were about to learn, as the Crimson Nebula gang had learned, that they had made a very dangerous mistake. The most lethal predator was often the one you never saw coming. Maya Chen, known to Earth military intelligence as Agent Nightingale, was back in the game, and this time, she wasn't hunting for revenge. She was hunting to protect the innocent people who just wanted to live their lives in peace. The galaxy's criminals and slavers were about to discover that humanity's guardian angel was actually a very beautiful, very quiet, and very deadly demon, and she was coming for them all. Years later, when the story of Kepler Station's defense had become legend, people would still talk about the maintenance worker who single-handedly destroyed a pirate fleet. They would tell their children about the importance of noticing the quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the people society deemed unimportant. Because sometimes, just sometimes, those were the people who would risk everything to keep the darkness at bay. And in the Outer Rim, where pirates and slavers once operated with impunity, ships began disappearing. Slave camps were found empty, their guards dead, and their prisoners freed. Weapons dealers vanished without a trace, their illegal inventories destroyed. The criminals whispered stories about a ghost who could kill from the shadows. A demon who left no witnesses and no evidence. They called her the Silent Death, never knowing that she had once been a maintenance worker who just wanted to be left alone. But Maya Chen knew the truth. She wasn't a demon or a ghost. She was just a human being who had decided that some things were worth fighting for, worth killing for, worth dying for if necessary. And as long as there were innocents who needed protection, the silent girl would be watching, waiting, ready to remind the galaxy's predators that humanity's greatest strength had always been its willingness to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Even when nobody was watching, even when nobody would ever know, especially then,